Hello, you're still on week 13. We're discussing day 2 and understanding concepts, and then we'll talk about the assignments. So now that you've discussed with your group and you remembered who is doing what part of the recommendation report, it's actually time to submit the assignment. The recommendation reports address the following questions. What problem are you going to solve? How are you going to solve it? Is it practical to pursue the solution? What are the benefits? How much will it cost? When and how will you complete the work? Again, the answers to these questions must be based on research. You should have already completed a lot of it. Things like the budget and the schedule or the Gantt chart will be theoretical, but they should be feasible. So that means you shouldn't have created the Gantt chart by guessing when something like the research or the testing or administration and release of the solution. You shouldn't be guessing for how many weeks or months something like that might take to complete. You should have researched a similar solution and have some understanding of how much time it takes to complete such a solution. The same thing goes for the budget. You shouldn't be making these numbers up from a similar solution, a similar type of budget. You should have an idea of the types of incoming and outgoing funds necessary for this type of solution. And you should also think about how making this a website, the recommendation report, rather than a traditional report, it changes the format. The writing will be more concise. Some parts of the report could be hyperlinked. And of course, you're going to have images to supplement the content that are properly captioned. Have one person submit the recommendation report to USF Rights. They can do this by submitting the PDF, just a blank PDF with a link to the presentation. That's fine. So upload that to USF Rights. Or they can submit it by adding a PDF transmittal letter with a link to the presentation at the top or the bottom of the letter. I think there were a few other ways that we went over in a different lecture, but essentially whatever you upload to USF Rights is going to be in PDF form, and I still need the link to your presentation. I don't want a PDF version of your Adobe Spark, Sway, or Prezi, or God forbid, just the text of your presentation in PDF form, because that's not what I asked for. And you will not, you'll see a grade that you don't like. Additionally, on an individual level, anyone in the group can submit the parts of the report that they created to a smart thinking tutor for extra credit. So for example, if you created the introduction or the budget sections, you can paste and copy these sorts of things into a Word doc and submit it to the tutor for feedback. The same way that you have for project 1s, 2, and 3, where you just submitted to me a screenshot and you got the extra credit. You can do that for project 4. To measure group dynamics and participation on an individual scale, the project features a project for team participation assignment. This 100-point assignment will be based on progress reports and what I hear and see from teammates about individual performance. Meaning if you contribute or you don't in a big way towards the P4 minor or major assignments, I'll take this into account when entering your points for P4 participation grade. you have a break coming up. However, take note that you should still work to complete the individual assignments as noted, the peer review discussion board and the revision planning slides. If you do not submit your group's link to the discussion board on your own, then Canvas will not assign you any reviewers. Please make sure to submit your group's link on time so you can complete this individual assignment. And we'll have more to discuss when we look at the day 2 assignments together in a minute. Furthermore, once we come back from break, a major assignment is due concerning changes needed to tweak the final draft. The revision planning slides, we'll discuss this assignment in detail next week. That's the end of understanding concepts, and I'm going to switch gears here to review the day 2 weekly assignments to include the draft of the recommendation report. I mentioned it a minute ago, but I'm going to reiterate. The rough draft should look something like this, a scrollable online report. I have had groups that submitted to me just the text and some headers on a Word document, and they did not get a good grade because this is what I wanted to see in its rough draft form. For me, in my class, a rough draft means you tried to get all of these elements together. And some of it might not be correct, but it's complete, meaning you tried to submit the introduction and you didn't leave out something really important like the purpose statement. Or you submitted the video, but maybe it's a little longer than a minute and you need to trim it. You submitted the problem section, but you need to work a little bit on the data visualization, but it's there. So I understand about a work in progress, but I don't want to see missing sections. And I don't want to see just a PDF version of the report. And a rough draft doesn't mean you don't have any sources. So that's another important part of it. I'm also expecting to see everything correctly captioned. I'm expecting to see headers for each part. This is not the best example, where I have another one, but I want to see each section separated by large headers so it's clear where each section starts and ends. And then at the bottom, I'm going to be looking for your references or works cited section, and I'm going to be counting the sources throughout your text. I would like to see, not just for your credibility, but for your grade, in-text citations that show me you're not just compiling this text based on what you think or you assume about the solution. You did look up previous solutions. You looked at the work you've already submitted about recommendation solutions in week, 11 or 12. And I should see the corresponding entries down here at the bottom with the details, but in each section, I would hope to see at least 1 or 2 in-text citations. If I see a section that has no citations, I'm probably going to note that as I'm grading. That'll be part of my either the feedback or the collective feedback file I offer. I think those were all the particulars. Oh, and that's another major, I want to see full sentences and not bullet points or just your thoughts. I would need to see full sentences. There is the extra credit tutoring, and we talked about that during the slideshow a minute ago, that even though this is a group project, you can submit what you created, your parts of the report, submit it to the Smart Thinking Tutor, and upload your picture to receive your extra credit. And the peer review. So even though only one person from your group is going to upload to USF Rights, everyone needs to hit reply on this discussion forum, and likewise upload the link for your assignment. It would really help me a lot if you also in here put what group number you are, because that will help me when I'm assigning the reviewers so that I know who's in which group, and I can clearly then assign group 2 members to group 3 or 4 or whatever. So your submission post here, everyone in the class should look like this: group title, the link for your project, and that's it. You have to post that by November 23rd in order to get paired with your 2 reviewers. And then once that happens, you're going to utilize PAD. Think about these sorts of questions. You can consider other aspects as you're reviewing their presentations. And reviewing the presentations will be helpful for you and your group. Maybe they did something that's really unique or cool, and you're like, we could kind of implement this in our own way. Or they did something that's not so great, and then it reminds you, oh, maybe we did this, and I better go check that we didn't do this. Just like the other peer review forums, you're going to offer 2 comments per reviewers that you've been assigned. And you're going to post those total of 4 comments by November 28th. And you can just reply to the forum, and that'll be easier. You don't need to go through the peer review process through that video from the 3rd discussion peer review post that we did. I got feedback from that, and while it worked having the 2 due dates for the automatic review process, some students found it harder to navigate using that comment feature stuff. So just attach your comments to the original post so group members can see them, and it'll be easier for everybody. That concludes week 13. And I hope you have a great break, and please consider utilizing the virtual conference day and asking me questions about aspects of the report for clarification. Till next week.